Hey. Hello, everyone. This is Willie Cartwright with From Save to Sane with this week's edition of the program, the podcast. Hope all of you are doing well out there. Let me know, as I always ask, please let me know if you're out there. Send me a message in the chat. Say hello. Say hello. Hope you all are doing well. I'm always appreciative of those of you who join live, those of you who catch the replay. I'm just as appreciative at all. I would love to have all of you, as many of you as possible, live with us right now. But I understand if you can't. So, hello to everyone. Texas Goddess, what's going on? Glad to have you. Appreciate you. How is it out there in Texas? It was a nice day. Well, it was a little chilly today here in Atlanta. A little windy, a little chilly, but sun was out, so I was glad to see. I'm glad to see the sun is out. We've been getting a lot of cloudy days, and it just does something to me. I like the sun. I like the sunshine. It's one reason why I'm looking to move, move, because I want more sunshine. Not that the weather is bad in Atlanta, but I like more sunshine, so we're looking to relocate somewhere out west. I think I mentioned that last week, but yeah. So absolutely beautiful in Dallas Fort Worth. And you know, Texas Goddess. I don't know if you know, but I think I've said this a couple of times on here. I am a huge. I used to cry when they lose lost Dallas Cowboy fan. I am a huge fan. Been a fan since I was 5 years old. I just something about living in Dallas has never really been my thing. I've been there a couple of times. Um, I don't know, but I hear great things about Dallas. But I'm probably going to go a little bit more west than Dallas. But I hope to be there this year finally to see a game at the stadium. I've been every year I say we're going to do it, and my wife is like, "We're going to do it." I was like, "Yeah." And it never happens. But I think this year we're gonna make it happen. As soon as the schedule comes out, I gotta find a game and get there and watch my Cowboys play in the stadium. And it's probably be a year that they don't win as many games. Watch. But Mo Wheat, what's going on? Glad you're here. Appreciate it. I'm good. As always, I like to say thank you to a couple of people. Let me begin by saying thank you to Taisha Essick, and I think she's out there somewhere. If not, I know that she will catch the replay, but she's out there doing her thing. So always appreciative of the things that she's done and continue to do. She's out there doing all of her things. Let me tell you, if you want some really witty and smart humor, you need to follow her on Facebook. She put out some really witty and things that make you think, but it's humorous, it's hilarious. I know she make a lot of religious people mad. I think she just went kind of AWOL this weekend. She put out a lot. I think it's Easter. She was putting out a lot of stuff, but it was awesome. I shared some of the stuff. But anyway, hello to Taisha. Thank you, and then also my wife, Salima Cartwright, who is extremely supportive, 100% supportive. She says she's my number one fan, and absolutely no question about that. She's supportive of everything that I've done. So I certainly appreciate what she's done. Papa Lance, say PC Chat, and Brother WC. Yeah, what's going on? Glad to have you. I want to get into this today. I had a couple of I have some things that happened to me this week because I've been kind of silent on social media lately about religious stuff. I've been really busy, and I said I'm gonna give it a break for a minute. I've made enough people angry. Um, but I posted some things this past week, and I got some feedback. And um, let me tell you how. So let me get to the topic. So the topic of today is spiritual warfare and other issues with Christians, and so I've come up with a couple of other issues. Lord knows there are. When I said Lord knows there are many. But anyway, I a couple of issues I want to get into along with spiritual warfare is of course what is spiritual warfare, and why does it seem to only happen with Christians? But we'll get into that. I also want to talk about how difficult it is for um, believers to accept that there are actually African American non-believers out there, and I'm gonna tell you the whole story behind that as well. And then finally, I want to talk about why does it seem that African American, black people, African American Christians are fearful and afraid of everything. Everything is demonic. Everything is wrong. Everything is bad. Everything is not of God. Everything is gonna get it. Everything is gonna open the portal for the devil to get in you, the bad spirits, all this other kind of crazy stuff that they always come up with. But they appear to be afraid of almost everything. So the first topic I want to get into is spiritual warfare, and I always give sort of background on where this came from. Um, um, as you would expect, I follow a lot of other people on social media that put out similar material, and some of these people are awesome. I've been inspired by a lot of them. Others I just watch because it's just the feedback, the comments are hilarious, and some of these people are really bright. Most of these people are really bright and witty and come up with some really great stuff. So I follow this brother on, let's see, Facebook or Instagram. I cannot remember. I get all mixed up. But his name is Cal, and I think Cal used to be a minister. I'm almost sure he used to be a minister, but now he is a full blown atheist. And so he does these little short, uh, um, um, not podcasts, but these shorts, I guess, where he talk about a subject and for a couple of minutes he'll talk about it. So I'm scrolling the other day, and he's talking about spiritual warfare. I think he titles this "Stupid Things That I Used to Believe When I Was a Christian," or "Stupid Things That I Used to Follow When I Was a Christian." Something to that effect. No quote me; it's not those exact words, but it's something to that effect. And so he talked about spiritual warfare, and it got me to thinking. I said, that's always I've always known a lot of Christians who get into this whole spiritual warfare thing, and even now being outside of Christianity and looking at it from a lot of people still do this whole spiritual warfare thing. And so as he was saying, he being Cal, as he was saying, first of all, what is spiritual warfare? And so it seems as if only Christians have this issue, spiritual warfare. Like they're fighting against what the devil, demons, the negativity. I don't know what it is, but it seems like they're constantly ready for battle, the spiritual battle. And I'm asking, what I never hear this or see this from non-believers. I never hear them talking about fighting with the devil or whatever, and that kind of stuff. And I think one of the things that is interesting, and I use that in a nice way. Interesting to me is that a lot of Christians, some of the Christians that I know, most Christians that I know, will attribute negative things in their life to this devil or fighting a spiritual warfare. They will attribute everything from um, not being healthy and coming down with an ailment that is behavioral induced as the devil. Let me give you an example. My wife and I was somewhere one day. It's been some years ago, and we heard this person say, "The devil gave my mama diabetes." Right? And people were talking like that's a form of spiritual warfare. You're fighting against that. And I'm thinking to myself, nah, it wasn't the devil. It was probably all that bad food that she's been eating, and the sodas that she's been drinking and not working out. That's how she got diabetes. So it's not the devil. So that kind of stuff. And so that's really, and so what that does, and again, before I get into that, we talk about this kind of stuff because there is always a point to it. And one of the things that this kind of thinking does, it takes away our accountability. It takes away from us being responsible and accountable for our behavior. If we can always blame negative things on that it's a spiritual warfare or that the devil is after us, whatever, then it alleviates us from having to take responsibility for our own behavior. So if I can blame my diabetes or my high blood pressure or whatever it is um, on the devil, then it allows me not to take responsibility for my life and what I'm doing, my eating habits, my lack of working out, all that kind of my smoking, my drinking, whatever it is that I do, that is the real cause of these things happening in my life and happening to my health, uh, my me being overweight or whatever, then I have a scapegoat, and so that's dangerous. As we all in our community watch many of us with these ailments um, that are behavioral, that are behavior induced. And so instead of saying, listen, I need to do better with my health, or I need to do better with, my attitude or how I treat people, we blame it on the devil. This individual doesn't like me, or this individual doesn't like me, or this individual hates me, or whatever it is. But we don't sit back and look at ourselves and behavior. It's always about spiritual warfare. Oh, the devil's trying to get me. The devil's attacking me from all sides and all angles. The job. It's just, the Christians, you don't go through anything that other people don't go through. Non-believers don't go through. We all go through the same stuff, whether it's a sickness, whether it's a job situation, whether it's relationship problems, whether it's friends, whatever it is, we all go through the same thing. You guys are not special. And that's another point. You guys are to me, it's narcissistic to believe that this deity, the devil, because the devil is similar to God, so it's sort of a deity, is coming after you because for some reason you're just that special. And so again, it keeps us from being responsible and accountable for our actions. It keeps us from just doing better. And so that's a problem to me. And so these are secondary issues with religion that we never really think about when we're able to have this scapegoat, this spiritual warfare. I'm not even sure who came up with this. Why is the devil attacking you? I used to always hear in church when I was in church that melanated. What's going on? Jacksonville, Florida. Awesome. I used to always hear that if you're doing well, then the devil is not going to bother you, right? Because he already has you. And so that implied that in order to be a good Christian, you had to be doing bad. You had to be doing bad in your health, or bad in your finances, or bad in your relationship. That's a mental illness to desire and to want to be struggling, in any aspect of our life, because we believe that that brings us closer to God, or or that says something. That's some kind of um, medal of honor that we're not doing well. So that means that struggling, God is there for me, and He's doing this for me. And but if I'm doing well, then that means that the devil is not. And so I think some of that came from the fact that if you do the research, there's a tendency of people who are doing better in life, whether it be health, finances, whatever. It is a tendency for those people to not attend church as much. And so the opposite of that is people who tend to be struggling, need something, tend to run to the church because the church acts as that, we're the medicine for the sickness that you have. And so I always talk about how the church basically provides nothing more than just hope. And so that's why there are so many churches in our community, because we struggle more so than any other group of people. So the church is there as a type of medication to medicate us. We go running to the church and praying to God and paying our tithes and all this, and things never change. Things never get better from generation to generation to generation. And so that's one of the things that's happening now. And you guys heard me last time we were on here talk about nuns, those individuals who are no longer part of the church or associated with any type of religious denomination. And most of those people are millennials and younger. Well, what they've seen is what I just said. They've seen their parents and grandparents run to the church because they've needed the church. Uh, they needed the church because of their physical ailments, financial ailments, relationship ailments, whatever it was. And they've been doing this year after year, decade after decade, generation after generation, and nothing has changed in the community, in their household, in their individual personal lives. And so now their kids are saying, hey, their kids and grandkids are saying, nah, I don't need that. And so so again, yes, people who generally speaking, people who are doing better in life tend to not go to church as much. And when they do, it's more of a social, it's more for social, for the socialization. If they have kids, they'll take the kids because a lot of kids' friends are there. They may have some friends that are in church that they only see doing church services. But they don't have that burning need there for the church or for God to fix their problems because guess what? They fix their own problems. Because if you continue to wait for the church of God to fix your problems, as we have seen, and I'm not just saying this, but as we have seen it, as all of us have witnessed, it's not going to happen. No one is going to save us but us, as the old saying go. A couple of people, stay chill. What's going on? I heard that too. My question was then, why are we praying for a good outcome? I mean, that's part of it too. So if it never works, number one. So if we pray and things get better, then we won't really need Church of God. So why are we praying? And then thirdly, that's something that people never really talk about. If God knows everything that's going to happen and this stuff is predestined, why are we praying anyway? Because He's supposed to know what it is that we want. So why are we begging him to do things for us that he already know that we want, or in the cases that we need? You know, no one wants to have cancer, right? So God knows this about his kids, supposedly, right? So why do I have to pray to God to get rid of my cancer when he knows that I don't want this cancer? Or God, or I need a promotion on my job because I need money to pay my bills. God knows this, so why does it take me praying and then me going to get 15 other people and then me getting on Facebook and asking people to pray? I mean, I see that I don't say anything because that's everybody that I know for the most part. Everybody that I know does this. So they get on Facebook and they beg and please pray for me, pray for this. I'm like, this is God you pray. He's supposed to already know all the things you need. So why does it take 1,500 Facebook friends for God to hear you? But that's a whole nother that's a whole nother conversation on that. But yeah, absolutely. Stay chill. Glad to have you. Melanated said churches and religions are curses that are yet to be broken. You're right, and we are slowly breaking that. And I said we, I mean African Americans, the generation, the younger generations, they are breaking away from the church. And if you really look, if you go back, it's been happening. It's been happening slow, but think about this. There was a time that nobody had a problem with being called a Christian. Everybody was like, I'm a Christian, I'm a Christian, I'm a Christian. Then everybody went from, yeah, I don't know about that. I have a relationship with God. So now I have a relationship with God, so they don't call themselves Christians anymore. Then it went to being spiritual. And so back and forth. So gradually, I think what's happening is that people are realizing there's a lot of things in religion that don't make sense, right? So they realize that it's easier to detach themselves from religion, Baptist, CME, Jehovah Witness, whatever it is, right? Without attaching themselves from God, the Abrahamic God or Jesus. So they detach from religion. But what's really going on, I think, is that they have questions about religion and things that's in religion, but they're too afraid to really go hard at finding answers to their questions. So they gradually reframe themselves or rebrand themselves as something that's not related to religion or Christianity, and they call themselves spiritual, or I just have a relationship with God. I personally think that it is the first step toward eventually embarking on a journey that for many people will lead them away from all of this. I think it's the first step. And clearly, a lot of people won't break away, but I think some will, and people are breaking away. So yeah, so absolutely, melanated. Texas Goddess said hi to everyone. Yeah, so this whole spiritual warfare thing, it is a mental illness, I think, from the standpoint of what it does to you. And so you're adding another layer of stress in your life. Uh, there is probably no other country where the people are as stressed as we are in this country. And that's why you see a lot of people wanting to work from home or wanting to quit their jobs or wanting to move to another country. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but in my generation, Generation X, there are very few people in my generation that I've spoken with that are not completely exhausted of this system, and this relates to what we're talking about, but that are not completely exhausted from what we got into this whole rat race, capitalist system. And I own a business, so I'm a capitalist, but I also understand the other side of it. Or I mean, and or ready to leave the country because things are too expensive. All the stuff that's going on, the division with race, politics, and religion, the whole 9 yards, everything. Almost to a person, they all are like, I'm completely done. If I could get out of this, I would. Um, and so how that relates to what we're talking about is that this is a system, and religion, in particular Christianity, is a tool of that system. Christianity is the first indoctrination that you get. You learn early on that there's a hierarchy, and for most of us, that hierarchy has not looked like us. So we get the images of Jesus and God as the hierarchy. There are rules that we have to follow. We are told don't question this. So you are being mentally prepared to go into this system, this capitalist US system, that tells you there's a hierarchy, and that hierarchy, at the top of that hierarchy, is someone that does not look like you, but you need to answer to that person, and you need to obey that person, and you need to do it without questioning it and asking questions of that person. And so, after we get indoctrinated through the religion, we get indoctrinated through school. They don't teach you how to think; they tell you what you need to know, and especially now, so that you can pass a test, because that makes great employees. That makes great people who follow directions. Those of us who finish school and decide to either go to college or the military, it's still pretty much the same. And I went to college and I'm working on a third degree, so I'm not being hypocritical. I'm just telling you the truth of the matter. You have to purposely try to get outside of this system and think for yourself. But when we start with religion early on, first grade, second grade, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years old, it is the earliest indoctrination into this system because it is a tool of the system. And so they don't want you, they being the people controlling the system, running the system. And this is not, I am not a conspiracy theorist by any stretch of the imagination, not even close. But I do understand, I do recognize the danger of this religious system and how it's connected to a much larger system and what it does to us. Texas Goddess said, I recently had a successful surgery and ask for good energy, well wishes, and prayers because that is the language they speak. I welcome any good energy. Absolutely, I have no problem with that because if you you can translate their prayers into good energy, right? They may be praying to whatever God they believe. You can certainly take that as them sending energy your way. And me personally, I have no with that whatsoever. One of the things that those of us, in the position that we're in as seekers, as questioners, as free thinkers, as non-believers, whatever we identify with, we also understand that we are existing in an environment of we're existing in a system that was created by people who are believers, were believers, are believers, and that a lot of the system is based on their beliefs. And so, how do we interact in the system? There's things that we have to do. I recently did an interview for a class with a friend of mine, and she is a full blown atheist. Grew up in the South, but became an atheist many years ago. And I asked her, How does she deal with her family who is still religious, just like my family is still religious, when they have family get-togethers or they visit or whatever? And so this is her negotiating the relationship and where she is in her beliefs. She says that, well, we try not to talk about it. Um, it's gotten to the point now with that when it does come up, it's sort of like a joke, and then we're gone. And that's pretty much what happens with my family. I with my sister and my niece and nephew. And I mentioned before, my mom has passed, but I don't even my in laws. I don't bring it up. That with my in laws, we don't talk about it at all. They know where I stand. My mother in law is extremely devout. My father-in-law, I don't know, it is what it is. He was born to Jehovah's Witness faith, but he long since left that. But my mother-in-law is extremely devout. But she talks to my wife, and she's comfortable believing that at least my wife believes in something. So we don't have these conversations. But with my sister and my niece, my nephew, um, we generally don't have the conversation. They may make a joke, and then it's gone. It's not, we don't dwell on it for a long time. And so that's how many of us have learned to sort of negotiate this thing that we deal with us not being believers, being around a ton of believers, especially if you live um, in the southeast, in Texas, even in the Midwest, because the Midwest is fairly religious too. Those of you who are out west, I don't think it's as bad. At least that's been my experience. But here in the South, and I've had people come here from out west and even the Northeast, like New York or whatever, and it's a different animal for them. It's like everything here it is religious based. They did not know that religion was a religion here. That is as serious as it is. As someone once said, people in the South don't ask you if you go to church; they ask you what church you attend, because they assume that everybody here goes to church. Now that's changed, especially with the younger generation. That's changing. But those of us I said that are 40 and over, that when I first moved here, I got that question a million times. And even now, being here for a long time, you get into a conversation with someone, it will come up. What church are you a member of? I don't go to church. Oh, okay. And then that pretty much kills it. But yeah, um, Melanated said, I have a cousin who called herself who called herself ordained and herself as a prophetess. And at one point, she tried to cross religion with spirituality, and I told her that it's like crossing oil with water. Yeah, that's this whole, and I don't know how I don't really have a position on spirituality. It means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. If you ask me, when people ask me, I say I don't really get into it. But for me, it would be, if I had to define it for me, it would be just knowing who I am, knowing more about myself, understanding my position in the universe, what makes me tick, what makes me go. Just knowing me, more about me. That's how I would define it for me. But you ask 100 people, you get 100 different answers. So yeah, absolutely. Melanie said, then don't mix. So she went back to her religion, but she didn't want to give up Jesus. Yeah, that's fear based, I think. Melanated. These people they're so fearful that they're going to burn in hell if they don't believe in this Jesus or follow this Jesus. Even when parts of them are saying this don't make sense, that indoctrination is very, very strong. It is strong, and those of us who've been in it and got out of it, we understand. I mean, I for years, and now I'm going on. This is my ninth year as a person, as I walked away from religion. So I walked away from religion in 2015, Christianity in 2015. But for many years after that, I thought that every time something bad happened in my life, or I got rejected, or something, or I was disappointed with something, that it was God punishing me, because I had spent 40 years, almost 40 years of that stuff being indoctrinated in me, those beliefs that God is vengeful, that God is jealous, and that if you don't do certain things, that God will punish you. And so that's what I got. And it's funny because I was on Facebook the other day with a person. She's a sister of a friend of mine, and her and I have become cool because she's a Dallas Cowboy fan. So we've kind of become kind of cool on Facebook. But she's very religious. always posting religious quotes. And she posted the other day that, you know, for people to stop thinking that God is a nice God or good God, because He's really vengeful and jealous and so forth and so on. I said, absolutely. I said, yeah, I totally agree with you on that. So yeah, so people know Neo X is here. Neo X married to the Matrix. What's going on, Neo? Neo, you gotta. She's like, she keep missing my live. You are right in the middle of it, dead smack in the middle. We started at 6, and so yeah, you're dead in the middle. So glad to have you, Neo. I caught a couple of your stuff. I think last week I listened to one last week. We'll talk about that later. But anyway, glad to have Neo. You guys support Neo on her channel. Neo is in this space as well, doing really great things. Neo's a friend of mine. I always got Neo's back. She knows that, so we're good here. So yeah, so like I was saying, this whole spiritual warfare thing that really don't make a whole lot of sense to me. Only Christians seem to be the ones fighting the spiritual warfare. Everybody else is good. So I don't really get that. Wanted to get into a couple of other things too. The non-acceptance of non-believers, and here's what I mean by that. As a non-believer, you can tell a believer that you don't believe the way they believe. Or for me, let me just speak for me. I can tell a non-believer, I can tell a believer that I don't believe in any God that we've created, any God that they know of, right? Um, they will tell me, yeah, but yeah, I ain't got no problem with that, but it's just a matter of time before God shows you or you come around. Or you just on a journey and you'll get back to that. Let me tell you why this came up. Yesterday, yesterday, there's this awesome group that I'm a part of, and it's really black men coming together and talking about certain issues, giving them opportunity to expose certain things, even vent. But a group of men coming together and allowing us to talk about things that we really don't talk about or can't talk about in front of other people. We don't, or we choose not to in a lot of cases, whether it be family issues, whether it be marriage, whether it be whatever hard time we have on a job, whatever it is. This particular meeting yesterday was about religion. Um, so I had been in a while because sometimes I just don't want, I just don't like to. It's not negative, but I just don't like to hear a lot of people complain or whatever. That's just me. I kind of run away from that. But anyway, when I saw the topic, I had to kind of move some stuff around my schedule. I had to go, so I went, knowing that I was going to be probably the only non-believer in the room. Um, I listened to about 10 guys stand up and talk about how religion is important to them. God has done this for them and done that for them, and they would be nowhere without this God, blah, 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 blah. And then a brother stood up and said, I don't have a problem with anybody as long as they believe in something. So without revealing my position, I asked him, I said, well, what if a person don't believe in anything? Does that make that person any less of a person? Why would you choose not to have a relationship with that person because this person don't believe in anything? And he kind of, well, I'm just saying, da 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 da. But so then the next guy says, well, whenever I hear atheists say that they don't believe, I just believe that they just don't believe the way we believe, and that eventually they will come around. And I said, well, what if they're where they're going to be for the rest of their life? What if they're there? What if they understand, to them, they don't believe. They're a true hardcore atheist. Well, no, yeah, I hear that, but I just don't think that. I said, why is it so hard, so difficult for especially Black people to believe that there are people out there, Black people out there, that don't believe in their Abrahamic God or their Jesus? They find it really, really hard. And I think it's more about not wanting to accept that because it's been ingrained in us that being Black is synonymous with believing in this Jesus and this God, and we're finding out from these younger generations that that's not the case anymore. A couple of comments. Henry Mars said, "Hola, great show. Thank you, Henry. I appreciate that. I haven't seen you in a while, Henry. Did I miss you last week? But glad to have you." Stay Chill said, "My family are believers, but not real religious. My dad doesn't believe, but I would go along to, but he would go along to get along in public. I know a lot of men like that. My mom is always giving correct to God. My husband became more religious recently. Wow. How's that? How's that working for you? Chill, stay chill. Yeah, I think growing up, even when everybody was religious, the men that I knew were the least. Most of them were the least religious, unless you were a deacon or a pastor. Um, I didn't hear a lot of men talking about at least going to church. Now, as I've said before, and as I said in presentations that I've given at a couple of schools, universities, and other programs, um, you're going to be hard pressed to find an African American when you ask them, "Do they believe in God?" that they'll say no. You'll be hard pressed to find that. However, if you track their behavior for a week, a month, 3 months, nothing that they do, some of these people, you'll find out that it's not really a lot that they do that is symbolic of them believing that there is a God. For example, they don't pray, they don't read the Bible, they don't go to church, they don't say grace anymore. But it's just something about publicly saying I don't believe in God or I'm an atheist that we are adverse to as a community, as a collective community. We just will not do that, no matter how many questions we have for a lot of us. And so it is when I do meet um, black people who are openly say that they are atheists, I'm like kudos, and I get exactly so yesterday after I said so I finally got up and said, listen, let me start about like this. I don't believe in any of the gods that we've created that we know of, including the Abrahamic God of Jesus. I don't. I said, however, I do leave open the possibilities that I could be completely wrong. And I leave open the possibilities that there may be something out there beyond me that I don't know, that we don't know. And you can define it as you want to define it, right? 2 minutes later, brother came around and said, well, okay, now, since you're the atheist, blah, 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 blah. I said, I didn't say I was an atheist. I said, I don't have a problem with that per se, but I never said I was an atheist myself. And so that's sort of where we, that's just an example of where we are as a community when it comes to that word of non-belief. But I made it clear what my position was with that. Couple of more comments. Lish, Lucia, Lish, what's going on? I'm glad you're here. Late is better than not being here at all. Stay chill said my mom gives me God credit for everything good. Oh, he gives my God credit for everything good. And it's amazing how that happens, but God never gets credit for anything that's bad. Only the good stuff. But this is the God that controls and owns and runs everything, right? Texas God said, Henry, I tell people you are on my heart. I'm sending you love or well wishes. I like that, Texas Goddess. I like that. I like that. That works. Neo said, hit the like button. Appreciate it, Neo. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We got to have each other's back. I appreciate it. Yeah, y'all please hit the like button. Stay chill said, I have been dealing with it better lately. I tried to ignore his comments about God. It is it is thankfully I don't have a spouse that goes on about God. Now, my wife, who basically practiced Buddhism, still believes in something outside of us. Um, she calls it God for sake of argument with her mom or other people. So when she says it, I understand where she's coming from, and I understand that because she clearly, without a doubt, does not believe in the Abrahamic God or Jesus being God or whatever. So, uh, and we have really, really deep conversations often. And so I'm good with that, but I don't know how it would be a chill to have a spouse where I constantly have to hear them reference God and it be the Abrahamic God or Jesus. Because my wife and my mother-in-law talk almost every day on the phone. And it's always just speakerphone and we watch the TV and my mother-in-law call or she'll call her. And that's how they greet each other. Praise God, praise God. And my mother-in-law won't go 3 minutes without bringing up God or Jesus. and I can hear it, and it's borderline irritating. But I love my mother-in-law. She is wonderful. I have no problem with her. I have the best in-laws in the world. Um, but sometimes it is borderline irritating, and that's a me thing because it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be a problem. That's them, whatever. But I'm just like, but I think even worse so when I'm on my Facebook scrolling, and every other post is about God or Jesus. And I think that in itself is not as irritating as it is when I or someone, in my circle of think like I think, post something that is like what they perceive to be anti-religious or anti-God. And then the religious people get all up about it, get all upset about it. Why are you posting this? Why can't you just let us believe what we want to believe? Blah, 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 blah. I said, but every day, all of you are constantly posting about God and Jesus, and everybody's good with that. So yeah, so that's the thing. But yeah. Um, Texas God say, Henry, also on Facebook, I say, may our love comfort you during this difficult time. Texas God, you said a lot. I just say condolences, or thinking about you, or keep your head up, or be strong, or I don't say anything at all. So yeah, so the acceptance, the non-acceptance of non-believers not believing, we tend to have collectively, we community tend to have a difficult time with that. And so the final thing that I want to touch on, and this might take us to the end, is um, black people being fearful of everything. And let me tell you where this is coming from. So many of you have seen that anytime Beyonce puts out something, the Christian community come attacking her, saying that her stuff is demonic. Now, I am not a fan of Beyonce music. It's just not for me. Um, some songs I catch, but my wife is a fan, and so she plays it, especially this new country album she has, which is actually pretty good. There's some good songs on there, I will admit. Um, but so she's been attacked for that. And so it's probably been a couple of months now because we're in the same industry. She put out a hair care product line, and I think part in the name is sacred is in the name. And some Christians attacked her and said that she shouldn't have sacred in there, or she mentioned ritual, and because this is not of God or whatever, they attacked her for that. Even to a point where, reading one comment, one lady said that she had bought the products and the products worked well on her hair, really well. She enjoyed it. But because Beyonce mentioned that this was sacred or something about ritual, and that this is not of God, she had to stop using the products. So that is completely asinine, right? Um, Same thing. I heard that Alicia Keys put out a skincare line, and it's something about soul is in it, and Christians were all upset about that. Um, so we have a tendency as a community. Everything is like, if we don't see the word Jesus on it, it's some reason it's demonic. Whether it's yoga, whether it's meditations, I mean, yeah, doing meditation, whether it's crystals, whether it's pouring libations, whatever it is, and we just afraid of it. One of the things that's personal to me that drives me crazy is these what we call D9. Those of you who don't know what D9 is, those are the historically black fraternities and sororities, which I'm a member of one. So they're called D9 because it's nine. It's called the Divine Nine, so it's D9. But over the years, you've had people, not a lot, but every so often, you'll hear one of the members of these organizations denounce the organization as being demonic, and as being not of God, and as being something that is taking the place of Church of God, and that we should not be a part of. And I have a chapter brother who did the same thing, and I've seen other people do it. Again, it's this fearful thing. It's this being, and one of the comments I was on a post and I saw someone do this and talk about why they denounced it and how it was demonic and how we just don't know and all the stuff we going into. Um, I am a part of a D9 organization, and I'm part of another organization that is highly, highly private, right? And I knew everything that I needed to know. I knew probably everything about my fraternity before I it pledged. We can't say that again. We can't say that anymore, right? Before I was initiated, but I pledged. Before I pledged, I knew everything about the organization. It was, it was no secrets. The other organization, I did not know everything about it, and you cannot find out about it until you it's steps that you take. Um, I've said that without saying, trying to say that without saying so much. I did not know everything about it. It was really secretive, and I have since many many years ago stopped really being a part of that organization, even though I was initiated into it. Um, I no longer claim that organization because of the secrecy, not because it was the money or anything like that, but just because it was a lot of things that I didn't know, and I probably did it for the wrong reasons. But anyway, we are so afraid of stuff. Everything just we just everything, and that's part of why we're in the collective condition that we're in because we are so afraid of stuff. And then secondly, with the Divine Nine, the fraternities and the sororities, there hasn't been a notable pastor. I ain't gonna say that, but that many, many, many pastors and church leaders and elders and deacons and first ladies and anybody that's in religion that is of any worth, any status, many of them have been part of these organizations. Dr. Martin Luther King is Alpha. Jesse Jackson is a Q. The list goes on and on and on and on and on. So I just it goes back to this whole thing of us being just so afraid of everything. Guys, religion for black people, it controls our life more so than any other group. I mean, we live and die and we see life through the prism of this thing called religion. It's everything, every single thing, every entertainer, every artist, everything that we do. And I think that's harmful. I think that is really, really harmful. I think it stifles our growth as a collective community. I think it makes us dependent on this fairy godfather that's in the sky. Um, it takes away our will, it takes away our drive, it makes us overly empathetic to others. We endure abuse because we want to be right according to the Bible. This turn the other cheek crap was only created or only said to us because the slave masters didn't want us to fight back. But you never see them turn the other cheek, never, ever, ever. But we constantly always turning the other cheek because we are fearful that if we don't, then we're somehow disobeying God or we're somehow going to be punished for it. And so it really bothers me that we are so docile and what this religion has done to us as a people. Um, and I'm not unaware of the good things that this religion has brought us collectively over the many, many, many years. It provided hope when our people were hopeless, absolutely. Even with some revolutionaries, they got the idea or the instruction or the information about which led to them being revolutionaries during this time period. They got it from the Bible, absolutely. Um, but at this point in our evolution, religion, Christianity has done more harm and continues to do more harm for the collective group than good than good. I said the collective group, not the individual. It may be something different, but for the collective group, I believe Christianity in particular has been really, really detrimental to us. Which is why I wrote my book. Those of you, you go pick it up. But same to say, my journey away from Christianity and why Christianity has been detrimental to the African American community. Um, and so, in this book, I talk about just some of the ways that Christianity and religion has been detrimental to us, and it continues to be. And so that's kind of where I am on that. So again, this whole we're fearful of everything. Um, our inability to accept those around us who believe differently stifles our relationships. It actually stifles us from being able to grow because I grow when I get around people who think differently than me. I don't have to always agree, and many times I don't, but I can respect where their opinion is coming from. And I'm always curious as to how they develop that position. And I think that should be the same thing for believers when they encounter non-believers, especially if for Black people who've always been really religious. I would think that a believer encountering a non-believer would be curious as to how that person got to that position. They want to hear it, as opposed to shutting down. I know Christians who right off the top say, if this person doesn't believe in God, I will not talk to them. I will not have a relationship with them. I will not have conversation with them. They are in. I mean, uh, Steve Harvey has said that, and I'm not a fan of Steve Harvey at all for a whole host of reasons. But yeah, Steve Harvey said that, and I thought that was one of the most asinine things to ever say ever in life. Nothing changes about a person because they don't believe. If you didn't know um, where my positioning is on religion, and we struck up a conversation and became friends, um, then why would that change if you found out that I wasn't a believer? Same where if we became, we struck up a conversation and you didn't like me. That shouldn't change because I'm a non-believer. So it doesn't change the person. It should change the person. And I said this last night to the group of guys that I spoke to. And by the way, toward the end, there were a couple of people. Actually, it was a guy sitting next to me, another guy across the room, who identified with me and who were with me. And even after that, many of the guys who because after I spoke, it was a lot of questions, and we kind of had to shut it down because it was not because of me, because I answered every question. I was ready for it. I was there for it, but we didn't want it to become sort of a one sided where it was just all about me and the comments I made. But when you are the dissenting person in a group of 40 men, you are one of three dissenters and you're the only one that's outspoken about dissenting, then clearly, obviously, there are going to be people who are going to ask you questions or try to challenge what it is that why you don't believe. And so, but afterwards, many of those same guys came up to me and said, I respect that. And I respect what you said. And we need to have more conversations. And so that's a good way to put a wrap on this. Um, we do this. I do this. People like Neo and people like Taisha and other people in this space, we do this because we need to have these conversations. I told a guy who is a devout Christian last night, we stuck around and talked for about 30 minutes afterwards. And I told him, I said, regardless of your position or my position, we need to have these conversations in our communities because guess what? Young people, you're church going man, y'all are hemorrhaging members, especially young members. And so you need to understand why they're leaving, what they're thinking. If you guys are interested in the church, the Black church continuing to flourish. And he totally agreed with that. And so these are conversations that we should have. And from our side of the fence, outside being non-believers, we need to understand, what these young people are turning to, or what they're looking for, or what they're going to feel like they're missing when and if they leave the church. And so we need to be able to say, well, here's a space for you that replaces the things that you missed or that you think you're going to miss in church. Is if it's the social aspect, then we're here for that. If it's the teaching aspect, then let's create a space for that. And so forth and so on. So we really need to, both sides really need to focus on that. So I have this podcast and these conversations and the stuff that I've written and published and spoken about, all for the sake of dialogue on both sides. And I like to believe that all of us, or at least most of us, want the same thing, which is what's best for our collective community. And we just may be going by it in different ways, but hopefully we all want the same thing. I'll read this last comment by Neo, or if you guys have any other comments, we have about 5 minutes. If not, then will be gone. But Neo says it's kind of messed up because I lost a good friend. He literally told me that if I do not believe in God or the Bible, he cannot be friends. Yeah, I've I've lost count, Leo. I've literally lost count of how many people have told me that, or how many people have stopped being my friend, or stopped following me, or said that they can no longer have conversations with me. Even my book, a really close friend, a fraternity brother of mine, was like, "Nah, I can't buy your book. I can't let your book be in my house." Even though this particular person challenges his mother, who is very religious, all the time about religion, but yet him and his wife said, "No, we can't. I can't buy the book. We can't have the book in the house." And then another one of our friends said, "Well, I'm just going to buy the book whether I believe it or not because I'm supporting the brother. That's our brother." But this guy just couldn't do it. And he and I are really close. We've been close for 30 plus years. Lived together for a while, whatever. But yeah, so yeah, it's one of those things. I got another friend who really close. I've been friends with him for 40 plus years. Won't touch anything that I'm doing. He and I were roommates for 4 years in college or whatever, and he won't touch him. He's a devout brother. I still love him, but that's when you decide that this is the journey that you're going to take, and you decide that you're going to become public about it. Um, I became public because I thought that it would help other people who were struggling like me, who was going through the same thing that I went through and still going through. And so the trade off is, yeah, I may lose some friends, or people may look at me different. But as the old saying goes, were they really your friends to begin with? And that for this particular situation, though, I think that comment is a bit harsh. And I'm attempting to be empathetic. I understand the power of religion. I understand the power of being indoctrinated by this religion. And I understand how this is literally life and death for some people. And I know how this is literally the most important thing in many people's lives. And they've been told or been taught that if there is anything in your life that may interfere with your quote unquote walk with God, then you need to eliminate that thing from your life. And so from that standpoint, I kind of get it, um, because they've chosen, like many others, regardless of the religion, that their faith is the most important thing to them, not their friendships, not other people. Not that's why that's why my mother was able to say all of the bad things she said about me and my wife when we told her that we were no longer Christians, because she had many years prior decided that the most important thing to her was her faith. And other people that I've spoken with who said that their faith was even more important than their kids, than their parents, than their spouse, than their siblings. And so I understand that because I've heard it so much. I don't agree with it. And to me, there's something wrong with a faith or a religion or a God that tells you to put that thing before every other thing in your life, your family, your loved ones, whatever. But they don't clearly, obviously, they don't believe that. They believe that this faith thing should be the most important thing to them. So yeah, so that's where we're on that. Texas God has said MLK kept his true knowledge about religion private. Stanford, where he got his doctoral degree, teaches the true origins of religion. Respect. Yeah, I need to read more on that. I thought Dr. King got his doctoral from Boston. Um, was it Boston? Yeah, Boston University. Or yeah, I thought, but I could be wrong. And maybe he got another doctoral degree, but I have to check. But anyway, yeah. So that's where we are. And so I wish us well. Spiritual warfare, believers not accepting non-believers, and our fear of everything. Those are the things that we've talked about today. I appreciate all of you. I will see you. Say check the comment. Check the comment before. Oh, okay. Check the comment before. Okay, I'll check it. I thank all of you for joining. I appreciate the likes and subscriptions. I still need more. I'm trying to get to 500. I'm a few short of 400. These are all organic subscribers, so I am very proud of that. Everybody here wants to be here, and they're real people and not bots. So I appreciate that. But you guys be safe. Enjoy the next. I will see you in 2 weeks. What is that? That is was that the 18th? That'll be 2 weeks before. That'll be a week before I finish my degree, my master's in religious studies, and 2 weeks before graduation at that point. So yeah, so everything is good. So we all good, and I will see you guys in 2 weeks. And thank you so much.